Willow Hart arrived in the dusty little town of Briar Ridge with nothing but a worn suitcase, a scar across her past she never spoke about, and a hope, fragile, trembling, to start over. But the moment she stepped into the local diner, conversation stopped, forks paused midair, and eyes narrowed with the kind of suspicion that could bruise a person's spirit. The town ran on gossip, and all it took was one whisper, "She's trouble," for everyone to turn against her, avoiding her on the street, refusing to sell her supplies, and spreading stories of crimes she never committed. Yet Willow never fought back, only lowered her gaze and kept walking, trying desperately to stay invisible, unaware that someone was always watching her. Not with hatred like the others, but with a quiet, protective curiosity. Sheriff Cole Maddox, a man known for his stern jaw, steady hands, and unshakable sense of justice, he noticed the tremor in Willow's voice when someone insulted her at the general store. He saw the way she flinched when doors slammed, and he recognized the look in her eyes, the look of someone who had been hurt too deeply, too often, someone carrying stories heavy enough to break a heart. The more Cole watched her, the more his instincts whispered that Willow was not what the town thought she was, and when he found her one night sitting alone behind her small cabin, hugging her knees, her face streaked with silent tears she thought no one could hear, something inside him shifted, a fierce urge to shield her from every cruel word spoken about her. He approached gently, offering her his jacket without a word, and she froze. Not out of fear, but out of shock that someone, anyone, could show her kindness in a town that had rejected her. Over time, Cole found excuses to check on her, bringing firewood before winter, leaving groceries at her doorstep, fixing the broken latch on her gate. And Willow, though cautious, slowly warmed to his presence, discovering that beneath his stoic exterior was a heart so unexpectedly gentle it made her chest ache. Yet Briar Ridge didn't miss the sheriff's interest. And soon the whispers grew uglier, accusing her of manipulating him, seducing him, ruining the town's peace. And one afternoon Willow found the words, "Go home," carved onto her cabin door, her hands trembling as she touched the fresh cuts in the wood, her throat tightening with the old, familiar belief that she didn't belong anywhere. When Cole arrived and saw the message, something snapped inside him. He stormed into town, confronting the mayor, the shopkeepers, and everyone who had thrown a rumor in the air, warning them that harassment would lead to consequences. But the town pushed back, claiming Willow was dangerous, claiming she was hiding something, and when Cole demanded proof, they had none, only fear, only ignorance. That night, Willow confessed the truth to Cole. She had run from a violent ex-fiancé in another state, a man who kept finding her no matter where she went, forcing her to flee again and again. And when she arrived in Briar Ridge, she hoped it would finally be a place where she could breathe. But instead, the town's coldness only reminded her of every place she had failed to stay long enough to call home. Cole listened without interrupting, without questioning, and when she finally whispered, "Maybe they're right. Maybe people like me don't deserve a place," he took her trembling hands in his and said, voice steady and filled with fire, "You deserve more than this town could ever understand. You deserve safety. You deserve peace. And I'm not letting you run anymore." The next day, Willow found Cole standing beside her in the middle of town square, his badge shining in the morning sun as he announced publicly that Willow was under his protection, that anyone who targeted her would answer to him directly, and the stunned silence around them was almost deafening. The people glared, muttered, shook their heads, but none dared challenge him, except Mrs. Turner, the diner owner, who spat at Willow's feet and sneered, "Why her, Sheriff? Why risk everything for someone like her?" And Cole answered, without hesitation, "Because someone like her is worth the risk." Those words traveled faster than wildfire. Some scoffed, some whispered, but a few began to soften, while Willow, who had spent years believing she was unwanted, felt her heart crack open in a way that both terrified and soothed her. Over the following weeks, Cole stayed by her side, teaching her how to shoot for her safety, helping her repair her roof, encouraging her to work at the library where Miss Harriet welcomed her with cautious kindness. And slowly, the town's hatred began to crack, revealing curiosity, then respect, and finally a quiet acceptance. But Willow knew deep inside that none of it, the safety, the warmth, the courage she had found, would have been possible without Cole. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills and fireflies filled the air, she stood with him on her porch and whispered, voice shaking, "Why did you choose me when no one else did?" And Cole stepped closer, brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, and replied softly, because you were never what they said you were. And because from the moment I saw you, I loved you in a way I couldn't explain. Tears filled Willow's eyes, not from pain, but from finally being seen, finally being valued, and for the first time since she arrived in Briar Ridge, she smiled, a real, trembling smile, and Cole smiled back as if that single expression made every fight worth it. She had been hated by the town, judged by strangers, haunted by her past, but she was loved by their sheriff, fiercely, quietly, completely, and in that love, she finally found something she had never had before: home.